First of all, quite frankly, I thought we had entirely too many turnovers against Kenyon College. I thought they came out and I thought they certainly competed and played hard. One of the things I talked to the team about in the locker room was having a sense of purpose and understanding that in order to do big things, you have to do little things first. And I often wonder if we start looking at the big things and not understanding that there's a lot of little things that go on first in order for you to do the big things. And especially, you look at teams that win championships or whatever, they end up winning them most times because they don't even worry about the championship. They worry about getting better every day, every single moment. And I thought we had some lapses in that game to where we lost our concentration and not really focus like we needed to be. I thought Rod Mills played well in his limited amount of minutes, although disappointed in his rebounding. One of the things I told him, he's definitely got to rebound. That's one area he's got to come through. But, he's a young man that typically stays within himself. But we got up there, and then I think we had the lead at 19 in the first half, somewhere in there, and then they cut the lead down maybe to 11 or something like that. And I just think we lost our concentration there. But all in all, the first one of four, so of five, I should say, the first one of 5 games that we're going to play. We were able to rest some guys tonight, which I was happy to do that in order to get ready for this big weekend, and then also leading up into Tuesday. So a tough stretch coming up for us.
Rod had a career high in points tonight. He started your first 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing just the maturity you would expect to see a guy show from freshman to sophomore year, or is there more going on there?
Well, let me say this. I think it comes to people at different times, first and foremost. And, for Rod, there was some times last year, particularly early in the season and early in the year, when he struggled picking up some of the things we were asking him to do. And so I think that was a hindrance for a long time. And then, you start getting in the rhythm, you start getting in the stretches of games, and it's hard really to change late in the season. But, what's unique about Rod is that he takes coaching unbelievably well. I don't know in the past year if Rod has ever once looked at a coach that has gotten on him like, what are you talking about? Like the look of ever. He looks you in the eye, he takes coaching, and he understands now the work ethic that it takes. And I think going through last year and watching Sully, I think that really helped him. And we talked about it at the end of the year as far as what he needed to do to progress. And so what you see is the product of someone that, sort of hits the rock and keeps hitting the rock and keeps hitting the rock. And he's certainly going to probably have some times where he struggles, but even when you watch him on tape, he's typically trying to do what you coach him to do. Now, are there things that he's got to do a much better job? Absolutely. He's got to rebound better, but, he has an ability to knock down shots, and there's a lot to be said for that, and especially with his length and everything else.
With this many seniors, upperclassmen on the team, have your expectations or demands changed at all, as say opposed to like last year when you didn't have that much in the way of seniors?
Well, I don't know if my expectations have changed. It's a unique senior group because there's only one young man that's been in the program for 4 years. So in many ways, it's a senior group with a couple of sophomores, per se, because they've been here 2 years. So that certainly changes the dynamics of it. But, one of the things that I think if you look back at last year's team, for instance, the voice of that team was Sully. He was the voice guy that was there to the voice every day in practice and not hesitant to use his voice. And in some ways, we have some guys that are quiet by nature G is probably a guy that uses his voice, and also Yede is a guy that uses his voice. Unfortunately for Yede, he's new, so it's a little bit harder. And so I think with this group, there is a process that's also going on of teaching and continuing to teach them how to lead, how to go about it on a daily basis. And so it is a unique senior group. My expectations haven't changed. I don't think the demands are different. The beauty of having the seniors is you hope that they know exactly what you're looking for and how we do it.
Is there anybody that maybe you've seen things from in practice that maybe the public hasn't seen that much yet from in the two games that maybe they can look forward to in the future that has some promise, some potential?
From a leadership or playing, I'm not sure
Just
which
a
way.
playing standpoint.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I mean, I think, for instance, Logan McLean's struggling because Logan McLean's been out the whole year with pretty much 3 weeks, with the exception of a couple of days before our first game. So he's having to play his way into it. Haroon has sort of been thrown in the fire, but he certainly has ability. Jake Wright sitting out. He has ability. Zach McCormick, 3 days ago was the first day he's been in a practice since he had surgery. So he was out. He tore his lateral meniscus. And one of the things our trainer said to me today was that it would be okay if he got a few minutes in the game. That would be a starting process, a good starting process for him. So I really do like the group that will return coming back next year of the guys that are here. And certainly we like the recruits that are coming in. And so I think there's a lot of guys that have potential. Unfortunately, the two freshmen that played the most last year were both hurt in the preseason. And then the third one, who didn't hardly play, has really stepped up his game. And so I think from that perspective, the future is certainly bright.
Coach?
Yes, sir.
Despite the 21-point victory, you guys shot about 58% from the free throw line. Is this a huge concern going into the next couple games this weekend?
Yeah, because typically we've been a pretty good free throw shooting team. I think last year we probably shot maybe 72% league play, and then we shot the year before like 76, 70, somewhere in there. The first game we shot, I think, 75% from the free throw line, but we didn't shoot the ball well at all tonight. It's one of the things that I talked to the team about, getting on the line here. We got to get some extra free throw shooting. I tell them I don't expect to ever be a bad free throw shooting team. Even if you're not a great free throw shooter, you better figure out a way to will some in. It's probably not the way to do it. But I do think when you have the expectation of being a good free throw shooting team, I think that can go from year to year, and it sort of just rubs off. We've got enough guys that are returning that shoot free throws that are pretty solid free throw shooters. So hopefully this is just something that happened tonight. And that will get better. There have been times early in the season here, some of the past couple seasons, we haven't shot the ball from the free throw line as well. We typically tend to get better. Part of that is I always say you're always trying to find a way to get extra free throw shooting into practice, and particularly for us because our practice block, because of our class schedule, we have guys that have class on the front end and the back end, so it's a little bit harder. So we've got to get it outside of it. That's it. Well, thanks, guys.
All right, first two starts of your career, the first two games, career high in points tonight. What is the major difference with you between last year and this year, Rod?
I would just say this past off season, just putting in a lot of work, talking to the coaches, and then also just having a year under your belt. Freshman year is challenging just because you're coming in, you're not used to really anything that they put in. So I feel like once it's slowed down now, and just meeting with the coaches and them explaining stuff to me now, so just having a year under your belt makes a big difference.
You've got a few new faces that are out there, and you're just like coming out of the gate here. How's it? What's the sense of how it's coming together, integrating the new people in, and incumbent upon the people who've been around to help them out a bit, as they say?
Yeah, I'd definitely say having a senior-led group is helpful because when you do have new guys, the seniors are able to help them bring them along faster. So we've been able to put stuff in quicker this year than we have last year at least. We've been able to move through practice quicker because we have those guys that can explain it to them. And all the new guys so far have been doing really well. Yuri's been a big help to us, and so is Haruna. So I think we just got to continue working and helping those guys and also just continue improving as a group.
Rod, like you said earlier, career high in points in your first 2 career starts. How are you adjusting to your new expanded role this year?
I would say that just being prepared, always being prepared, and Coach always says when your number's called, just be able to contribute and play within your role. So I think just this past year with putting in work, you're more confident in yourself. So when the time comes, you're ready for it, and it's not surprising. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, just being ready and not really worrying about how much you're going to play, if you're going to make shots or not, just doing what you can to help the team and then letting everything else play out.
Is there one particular area of your game that you focused on from last year to this year, and do you feel like you've seen improvement in that area?
I would say shooting, just shooting in general, and then my low post, mid post game, because I'm playing the 4 this year, 3 and 4, and so when I'm able to post up or be in the post, I had to work on that and just shooting in general.
They've got a few new rules and things that have been put in place for this year. Just from a player standpoint, is it anything that that you've noticed that you've had to make any adjustments for you or others on the team?
I'd say sometimes it's kind of confusing what they call. You're not really sure why they call them, but I've definitely seen a difference in the hand checks out on the perimeter. You're not really allowed to do that, and then I say on some of the rebounds, you're not really sure. If you have position, if it's going to call to you. I know we had a couple of those tonight. So I think we're all still adjusting to it and getting used to it game by game, as well as learning what the refs call, learning what we can and can't do. So I think it's just a process, and throughout the year we'll just get better at it, and less fouls will be called, so the game will go a little smoother.
Any more questions for Rod? Thank you, Rod.
All right.